26 years of experience in the banking sector, most of it with ICICI Bank, Rajesh Nair has developed a comprehensive expertise in business, compliance, credit risk, and audit. He's led 3 departments at ICICI Bank, where he was the head of mid-corporate franchise till May 2023 and built it into a $2.8 billion franchise with 0 NPAs in a period of just over 3 years, along with integrating technology and navigating it through black swan events. Since June 2023, Rajesh has embarked on a journey of reinventing himself as an author, an investor, and an entrepreneur. He's created this model of transformation for organizations and individuals, helping them to achieve their true potential and happiness. He's also passionate about writing and investing in domains that align with his values and his vision. A keen tennis player and lifelong learner, Rajesh Nair believes that learning compounded is the key to success. So thank you for being here with us today, Rajesh. Transformation through Reinventing, that's your book. Let's understand a little bit about what prompted you to write it.
Firstly, thank you for that introduction, Avanne. When we look at ICICI Bank as a great institution and look at what changed there, I just want to look at one parameter. In 2018, it made $1 billion of profit. In 2023, it was nearly $6 billion. 6x in a span of just 5 years. It is phenomenal for any institution in the world, let alone a banking institution. So this has to be a magical portion which is there, which led to this path. And when I thought about it deeply, I said, this must be captured in some easy form to be able to share it with public at large. And that's when I got about writing transformation. It's an abbreviation which is there. So there's a pathway to success. And when I started writing about ICICI's story, it came to me that if I'm writing about a model of success in a banking institution, is it possible that another institution also chose to move forward by using this model? And that's when I researched the Tata Group and I found indeed it is so. Then came the third element of transformation. If institutions can change, so can individuals. And that's the third element in the book. It tries to merge the 3 genres of 2 companies transforming themselves, as well as how does an individual finally change to become a better person or a better version of themselves.
In this book, as it says, learnings from ICICI Bank and Tata Group's journey, but it's not just that. It's a model of transformation that you've developed. Tell us more about it.
Yes, it is a model. As I mentioned, it's an abbreviation. The reason I created a model of this nature is to simplify a path to success. And just to take an example, the first element of transformation is about target the identified opportunity. When we look at any business, if we have achieved 100 crore turnover in this year, and the next year we will aim for growing it by 20%. So we'll aim for 120 crores. And that's how most people sort of grow their businesses. But when you look at the opportunity which is available, say in our example, it's 50,000 crores. Now suddenly 120 crores seems minuscule, right? That achievement of 20% growth is nowhere in horizon when you look at the 50,000 crore opportunity. And that's the power. Each of the businesses in the bank were told to identify the opportunity and then make an action plan to go out there and get our rightful market share. This is the opportunity which is the first step in transformation, and that's why I call it a model. It's a model for change.
You touched upon individual transformation as well, and I want to understand from you, do you think that corporate transformation and individual transformation have anything to learn from each other?
Absolutely, in one word. If you think of it, it's an individual founder who creates an institution. What an individual believes is transmitted to an institution. And therefore, when institutions succeed, it is possible that you learn from the institutions as well. Just to take the same example of opportunity which we discussed, I have been blessed to work for an institution like ICICI Bank for the longest time. And often when my friends ask me and meet me after some time, they'll say, Rajesh, still with ICICI Bank? I always answer, still with ICICI Bank but not still at ICICI Bank. In the sense, it's such a dynamic institution, and therefore it gave me so many opportunities to look at different departments and head them, to be able to have different outcomes in each of them. And those experiences is what has made me. And this is what I call the perfect union between a corporate transformation, which is, we said, target and identified opportunity. Similarly, an individual too can look at various opportunities that they have and go on and build their life in those opportunities. And that's why I say it is possible to do both.
It's a bit difficult, but which, according to you, is your favorite chapter?
Yeah, you have put me in a spot of bother. It's like trying to select one of my two sons as the better. But I can do something interesting. I can look at qualities, because I always tell my sons that it's the qualities that I see in you which will finally make them. And therefore, using that analogy, I would like to select one chapter based on the quality. It is about reinventing. The reason I like that is because transformation as a model is there. But if a human being or an institution wants to change, it has to decide to reinvent itself. And unless it does that, it cannot move towards transformation. Therefore, in order to be moving forward, the first step is to be mindful that there is a need for reinventing. And I'll suggest a few steps in which reinventing can happen, both corporate and individually. And that is why it's my favorite chapter, that you decide to reinvent yourself, and that's when you can use a tool which I call transformation to execute whatever it is that you have chosen to do.
Yeah, no doubt. It is one of the very critical steps for a corporate, as you said, as well as for an individual. And I did put you in the spot, and I'm going to do that again. Which is the model of the 11 steps in transformation, according to you, is the most critical?
Yes, indeed, while all the steps are needed for a corporation and an institution to move forward, or an individual to move forward, if you're asking me to pick one, I think it would be culture. I call it the force multiplier, forging the right culture, because without the right culture, an institution cannot move forward. It's my firm belief that both ICICI Bank and the Tata Group have played out the culture which they want people to follow very explicitly, so that the entire team is aligned to that one culture statement. For instance, at ICICI Bank, it is fair to customer and fair to bank. It is this sort of an ethos which is promoted by the entire management, and therefore explicitly right in its every written material. If you look at their annual report also, it's very clear that the institution will be fair to the customer and equally fair to the bank. And once you make a culture statement which is simple to understand, it is full of integrity and trust, that's when you end up building institutions of the scale of ICICI Bank, or for that matter, for more than 100 years, the Tata Group.
That's very interesting, but I think the question arises, how does one go about executing the culture statement?
Simply put, it's by practicing it. What I saw at ICICI Bank, the statement of fair to customer, fair to bank, we were all encouraged to practice it by looking at few examples that were given to us to anchor us around. For instance, don't make any deal so important for the quarter that you will have to do it, whether you're fair to the customer or to the bank, it doesn't matter, but you have to do it. We never had such compulsions at the bank. So that's the practice of it. If we were forced, we had a statement and we were still forced to do the deal, it means it is just a statement. Only by practicing it consciously and consistently is that the culture becomes.
That's an interesting point that you've brought up. And I also read the piece about time and aligning hierarchies in the
Can I
organization.
take a moment more, sorry,
Yes.
to intervene here? I talked about explicit culture, but what is more important is the implicit culture. So it was May 31st, 2023. It was the final day at ICICI. Having spent more than 23 and a half years there, it was an emotional day for me. So the HR had organized a farewell function for me, and the time set was 2 p.m. And I knew this aspect of Mr. Bakshi. He was also to be there for the function. I knew that he will be there in the auditorium at 1:55 p.m. And therefore, I chose to go to the auditorium at 1:50 p.m. Surprisingly, he was there at 1:53 p.m., which means he respects time for everyone, even a person who's leaving the organization that day. So time becomes an implicit culture. Mr. Bakshi was known to be on before time, in fact, not on time, for every meeting. And therefore, all of us were always ready before time. And this is the implicit culture. I think this is as important as the explicit statement which is made. Sorry to intervene, but I wanted to make this point.
No, I'm so glad that you did, because it really tells you a lot about an organization and this implicit culture that it is adopted. But since we're talking about aligning hierarchies in an organization as well, it's a very different concept. So what's your take on it?
For me, when we look at hierarchies in the bank or any institution, and what we learn from ICICI Bank and even the experience at Tata Group, it is to be able to save time for the teams. If we are able to make time for our teams, it is then that they will be able to deliver the outcome which we ask for. And in order to do that, at ICICI Bank, several hierarchies were merged into one so that we create as many leaders to be able to head various functions which were required. And it was with the aim of saving that one resource which we really have in equal measure, whether one is the head of an institution or one is a management trainee, time. But it's the effective use of that time which finally delivers whether we are successful or not. And therefore, every organization has to think it builds hierarchy not for the person, but to save that one resource. This moment has passed, right? So we'll never get it back. And therefore, they have to save time for the teams to deliver on the outcome.
Now, you've said that you're an avid reader, and I'm sure as well that you're aware that there are plenty of books out there that have strategies on growth and how you can build a business, etc. But I'm sure there's something in this book that really stands out and sets it apart from the rest. So what's the USP?
Yeah. Obviously, there are various business books which take you through various steps to succeed. In fact, you said it right. What is unique about this? What I look at it is that it is an experiential story. When we see people build models, it is always about a theory converted into a model. Here, it is a practitioner who's giving out a model for success, and it has been practiced at two great institutions. Therefore, it helps to build a model through that. The second element of it is that this institutional practice has been converted into what can happen to individual success. It's a kind of genre which has not been tried, but I find it very exciting to learn from a corporate journey to move an individual towards success. And finally, it's all said in a story form. A business book is usually brass tack, chapter after chapter of theory and practice, but here it's a story. Yeah. The reason to put it in a story is all of us remember movies and stories which are there. It resonates well with a person, it resonates well with me, and therefore I am in the story and I have written about it. And that's the way the model has been built.
Yeah, of course, you can relate so much better.
Yes.
And I noticed as well that you had said that talent does not pass on. Why would you say that?
So this is interesting. I want to ask a counter question. Can you believe that Novak Djokovic didn't have anybody in his family playing tennis?
Wow.
Yet he's the player that he is. So it's the case with every other tennis player. They are the ones who have broken out. And if you look at our industrialists also, they've built industries and their parents were not doing that. So it's clear by empirical evidence that it does not necessarily pass down through the mechanics of bloodline. That's why it is important. They got the opportunities and they held on to it. Yeah. And of course, they worked hard at it to be who they are. And that's why I believe in this, that it's the opportunity sets that everybody gets which will finally define them and their outcomes of success or failure.
I noticed something very interesting in the book as well. You've, of course, got the model, you've got examples and a lot of advice, but there's something else in the book, and that's a poem.
Yes.
And I loved it, and I actually heard the recitation of the poem, and I think that the audience should hear it too.
Why do I do what I do? Is it because I can't do anything else? Or is it a conscious choice that I make? Why do I do what I do? Is it out of all the pressures that come with being in a society? Or is it because I too, in the bottom of my heart, enjoy the position which comes from what I do? Why do I do what I do? Is it to please my ego? Or is it because I find happiness in what I do? Why do I do what I do? Is it because I believe I can't do anything else? Or is it to live a dream I started out with? Why do I do what I do? It is to find the answer that lies within me, for me to find the journey I want to embark on, to make the journey full of happiness and excitement, to live the dream through a journey of reinventing, a journey of finding myself. This is why I do what I do.
Thank you. That was truly very outstanding, Rajesh. And I'm sure it will resonate as well with the audience. They'll really have them thinking about the question as well that you've asked. And any other final word before we close? Before we end the show, I want to actually announce that the book, Transformation Through Reinventing, and it's actually going to be available on Amazon, on Flipkart, as well as on the Notion Press website. That's notionpress.com. Thank you, Rajesh, for joining in.
Thank you so much for your time.